these all the things you sent to us?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't need to bring my computer then. Thank you. Oh.
Your water bottle.
Oh, thanks. I got it in Slovenia.
Oh, that's a very cool place to buy a water
I
bottle.
got it in glass. I'm tired of
But it's cute.
plastic. Yeah. Everywhere you go, plastic.
Right.
Time slowly.
Yeah,
to
sorry.
replace things. and-
Building
Get rid of
habits.
this plastic.
Hey, how are you?
I like
Well, I don't.
I'm getting the PPA ones.
Share my screen.
Yeah.
Very like when you're not during clips. You come out.
Yeah.
But then, just so you know, that's why.
Alright. Sounds good.
We're good to go whenever.
Okay.
Hear me?
I could wait.
I don't think so. Can the virtual folks hear me? Okay, give a wave if you can. Yes, I hear head nods. Awesome. All right. Well, welcome everyone. And Amber raised her hand. Amber, I assume you're raising your hand because you said that you can hear me. Otherwise, it's right?
That's right. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So Vicky is out of town. I'm going to be running our agenda today. I thought we could just do a very quick round of introductions and then we can get started. My name is Corey Thompson. I am helping co-chair the task force along with Vicky Hunter. I'm with the Public Defender's Office. I was a trial lawyer for 15 years in St. Paul, and then for the last 5 years, I've been in our admin office as the training director. So I train our staff around the state. I'm going to pass it to the left, and we'll kind of go. I'm going to go to Jeff, and then we'll hit the virtual, and then we'll come back with Paula and with our sort of newest member that we want to spend a little more time introducing, Crystal. So take it away.
Sure, I'm Luann Buck, and I am an investigator specialist with the Ombuds for Corrections, and Shakopee is one of the facilities that I oversee.
I'm Commissioner Linda Flanders from Goodhue County, and I'm here representing the Association of Minnesota Counties.
Good morning. I'm Kaylee Henson. I am a juvenile probation officer with Wright County Court Services. I have a gender responsive caseload, so I have all the high risk teen girls in Wright County.
I'm Nikki Engel, and I have a bit of a new role. I am now the interim co-executive director of Violence Free Minnesota. So we're the state's anti-domestic violence coalition. So I'm here representing victim survivors.
Very cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Speed. I'm program director at the correctional facility at Shakopee. I work primarily with the case managers and elective programming. Those are areas that I oversee.
Great. And then Jake, I think is going to be doing a presentation for us. So Jake, maybe we can introduce you quickly now, and then we'll get into your presentation a little more a bit.
Yeah, Jake Baumgartner. I'm the Transitional Living Program Supervisor at the West Central Regional Juvenile Center in Moorhead, Minnesota.
Thanks, Jake. Angel?
Hi, I'm Angel. I am a person of lived and experience, and I am also a youth advocate.
Thanks, Angel. Donald?
Oh, he's just,
He's our tech person.
he's helping with tech. Yeah.
Donald is helping us with tech. Thanks, Donald.
Thank you, Donald.
Amber.
Say my name, I'm sorry.
I did, yep.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yep, Amber Yoakum with Minnesota Adult Challenge. I'm the Regional Outreach Manager. And I'm also a task force member.
Thanks, Amber. Savannah?
Hi, everyone. I'm Savannah Riddle. I am the Maternal Child Health Section Manager at the Minnesota Department of Health.
Thank you. Angela? Oh, you're muted still.
Sorry about that. Good morning, everybody. My name's Angela. I'm an OBGYN based in Rochester, Minnesota, and I have experience treating women and girls who have experienced incarceration over the course of my career.
Thanks, Angela. Paula?
Good morning. I'm Paula Schaefer. I'm, gosh, what am I? I'm retired from DH, but I staffed this committee when I was at the Department of Corrections and the Planning for Female Offender Unit. And most of my career has been about girls and justice involved girls. And yeah, I've been a task force member since 2019.
Thanks, Paula. Okay, and then that brings us to our newest member here, Crystal Baki, who is a new deputy commissioner, and she's going to be our liaison. She's replacing Connie Jones, it's my understanding. So I guess what I will do is just turn it over to Crystal to give a more full introduction of herself.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Excited to be here and to join you moving forward. My name is Crystal Brackey. I became the Deputy Commissioner of Client Services and Supports, still even just working in the title, last Monday. And so we'll be here in Connie's place moving forward as the Commissioner's representative. Prior to the Deputy Commissioner role, I was the Deputy Assistant Commissioner of Teaching and Learning here at the DOC for not quite 2 years. So I actually have worked extensively with Vicki Hunter in that work and, focusing on our education programs and Shakopee and all of our facilities around the state. So really look forward to being here with all of you and listening, learning, and participating in the conversations.
Great, thank you. Okay, and it looks like we have two people that just jumped on. Maybe Maya, do you want to introduce yourself?
I am Maya Mason. I am the manager of the non-secure program in Anoka County. I have been here for 10 years, but not in this role the whole time. And I had started on the task force in March, I think.
Great, and Kilo.
Hey, this is Kilo. Sorry, I am not going to be on video today. I'm actually driving. But yeah, Kilo Marie Granda, I've been on the task force now for several years. I'm a consultant and advocate that works within fields of, justice, corrections, disability justice, sex trafficking, labor trafficking, that kind of thing. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Okay, well, in the interest of sticking to our agenda and making sure that we get through all of the wonderful content that we have here, I'm not going to introduce future people that jump onto the meeting because I just want to make sure that we can get cooking with the agenda. So the first thing on our agenda is the CLIPS overview presentation and Q&A with Jacob. So Jacob, I will turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me, and thank you everyone for all the work that you do. So yes, I'll give an overview of our CLIPS program, which stands for Community Living Independent Programming and Skills. So it's essentially a transitional living program. And recently we did open up a female unit. We've had a male unit that's been operational since 2020. But first I'll give a brief background about myself, and then I'll kind of explain and describe all the different programs that we have within the West Central Regional Juvenile Center, because they are all kind of tied together in some ways, and we work together. So to understand how we got to the point of our transitional living program, you kind of have to know the background of our facility. So I've been working here since 2011. I've held a variety of different roles, from overnights to line staff, where I was directly supervising the youth. I was a transitional counselor at one point before I became a program coordinator, which is essentially a case manager. Did that for several years in our secure residential treatment unit. And then my newest position this year is the supervisor of the CLIPS program. So yeah, we're located in Moorhead, Minnesota. If you're not familiar with that, Red River is about 500 feet that way. So we're right next to Fargo, North Dakota, about 3.5 hours from the Twin Cities. So West Central Regional Juvenile Center, we've been around since 1971. I guess back then, I'm pretty sure we're located in the basement of the jail across the street. So we've grown a lot since then. We're a children's residential facility licensed by the DLC. So we have 11 member counties, which include Becker, Clay, Douglas, Grant, Ottertail, Stevens, Todd, Traverse, Wadena, Wilkin, and also our newest one that is Cass, North Dakota. So that's Fargo. And we also have a contract with the Division of Juvenile Services from North Dakota. So they kind of operate different and over there as far as probation, but the Division of Juvenile Services in North Dakota, they have the authority to place their supervised youth in different facilities. So we have a contract with them. So we do see some North Dakota youth. So I will first start describing our secure detention unit. So we can house 55 in our secure detention. So those are for the youth that they've committed to delinquency, they're pre-adjudicated, and they're just waiting for the court proceedings. In our non-secure program, there's some delinquent youth, but some non-delinquent. There's runaways or those that have been removed from their home for whatever reason. In the non-secure unit, we average about 17 youth, and 40 to 50% of them are from out of county. So in non-secure, we see emergency social service placements or law enforcement holds. We also have a 30-day evaluation program there. We partner with Lakeland Mental Health here in Moorhead. So the 30-day evaluation includes a psychiatric evaluation, a report from case management about behaviors observed, education report from the school, and also a report from the therapist. So at the end of that 30-day eval, all the professionals make their recommendations. A lot of times it is they can return home and participate in certain services in the community, or they might be recommended to complete a residential program or a group home or something of that nature. And then another program is the Secure Residential Treatment Program. So these are for adjudicated youth who are ordered to participate. Many years ago, we'd see them be ordered to a certain amount of days, 60, 90, 120. But now 90% of the time or higher, they're just ordered to complete services. So the services will typically include therapy, which we have contracted therapists through Lutheran Social Services. They're all trained in trauma-informed, trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy and EMDR. So youth here are getting therapy at least once a week, sometimes more, depending on the circumstances. We also partner with Solutions Behavioral Health, and they provide our substance use disorder programming. So that's 17 sessions, 90 minutes each session. So that usually takes about 2 months. And going back to the trauma therapy, we never like to put a time frame on that, but generally we're seeing maybe 80% of the youth are able to get through that in between 4 and 5 months. So that's probably the average length of stay for someone in the secure residential treatment program. So we serve a lot of, our member counties, but about half of them are out of county members. Right now we have 4 from Hennepin and 1 from Ramsey. I've seen those numbers higher from those counties, but we almost always do have some from the Twin Cities. And let's see here. Oh, I missed medication management. We also partner with Oasis Mental Health and Wellness. So we have a psychiatrist who's here weekly. They see 4 to 5 kids each week, and so each youth is usually able to be seen monthly. And if some behaviors were to arise or we sense that a med adjustment is needed, we can always get them right back in the next week. So it's been really helpful to have that service in here. So when I was a case manager for secure residential youth, what I was noticing was we were very successful with the youth inside, while they're here. We saw the progress, we saw them work through those traumas, get sober and learn about their substance use problems and their triggers. And we see a lot of the behavioral issues resolve, and they form connections with the staff members. They do a great job here. But the problem was, when we'd release them and they would go home, sometimes the community that they would return to was stressful for them. They would go back and be around the same peer groups and the same temptations. So even though they made a lot of changes here, those temptations sometimes would get them to fall back into their old habits. And we know this because we do follow-up calls at the 3 month, 6 month, and 1 year to see how things were going, or if we could be of any assistance to them when they're back in the community. So that was kind of when the conversation started about, is there something else we could do? Is there another program to kind of bridge that gap and help the transition into the community? And that's when the male CLIPS program started back in 2020. So again, CLIPS stands for Community Living Independent Programming and Skills. Many of the youth that enter the CLIPS program, they started in our secure residential program, and then it acts as a step down. So in CLIPS, they're in the community a lot more. They're expected to hold part-time employment. So our staff members help them get a job, help them manage their money, make sure they're attending all their shifts. We do a lot of community activities. We're going for walks, riding bike. They've even done some fishing down in the river. We try to get them out there as much as possible. But the good thing about CLIPS being within our building is they're able to continue services with the same providers. So they're connected to a therapist in secure residential, and they keep that same therapist and same case manager as they transition into CLIPS. So they're to kind of share some success stories from the male unit. We had one youth who was 18 years old, and he got a grant to attend a welding school. So the grant came from rural Minnesota Concentrated Employment. They're the one that they're another partnership we have, and they helped get that grant. I think it was about $9,000 towards his schooling there at the welding school. So he was graduated high school already, so he was able to attend that school Monday through Friday, and he got his welding certificate, and he was hired before he even left the CLIPS program. So he's 18 years old, making nearly $30 an hour as soon as he left CLIPS. There's some other paths. Some want to just live on their own because they're in that transition age and become an adult. So we've helped multiple people get into their own apartments. So they build enough savings, and then we help them with the apartment application. We bring them to the apartment showings, and we even help them move in. And they get a lot of help from our staff members as far as like donations for things they need. As far as kitchen supplies and different things that you just don't have at a young age, but you need when you're moving into your own place. And others have attended college, so we help them fill out financial aid and apply for college, bring them to college tours, some introduction classes. We have a good partnership with M State, which is our 2-year college here. But we also they call us the tri-college area we have North Dakota State University, Minnesota State University in Moorhead, and Concordia College in Moorhead, and then M State Tech College on top of that. So lots of opportunity, and our goal isn't to relocate youth. Our goal is to return them home and to their own community, if that's where they want to be. But every once in a while we will see youth that they don't want to return to their own community. They want to start a life of their own. And even a few weeks ago, it was funny, we got a text message on our facility cell phone from a former resident. He's probably like 21 years old now, former CLIPS resident. He's saying, "Do you still have that pot roast recipe?" He was trying to do some cooking for his girlfriend. So it's just kind of funny that a lot of them that leave here, they still feel they have that connection. They still want to keep in touch and give us updates. So that happens often, and that's a good feeling. Now to the female clips unit and how this came to. So I think it was a few years ago, we saw this big influx in female population in our detention programs and our secure residential programs. And we're like, I mean, we don't really know why, but the numbers were just higher. And we're like, okay, this CLIPS program for the males, this has been successful. We need one for the females. Our problem was space. We didn't have an additional unit in our building. And then this last year, where I'm currently sitting, used to be the old detox, Clay County detox. And they were able to build a new facility in North Moorhead about a mile from here. So then this one was vacant. But it was it was run down. It needed a lot of work, and we did not get as much money as we had liked from the county. So it was a lot of volunteer hours. We laid the vinyl floor, did all the painting and the ceiling tiles, rebuilt everything in there. It completely transformed it. And it is a beautiful space. It is not in the same building as all the other units that I described. That main building, it's, just a few hundred feet over here, but this one is actually in the social service building on the second floor. So it did require us to get a separate license. So we are approved to house 12 female residents in this CLIPS unit. And it's been open since May 12th. So currently we only have 4 right now, and we have about 3 that will be starting soon, stepping down from the residential program, but still plenty of space for more youth to enter in this program. So we're excited. We did think it would fill up a lot faster than it has. One thing I think I'm seeing is, and I don't disagree with it here, but in court at review hearings, public defenders, a lot of times they're arguing, no, there doesn't need to be a step down. They completed secure residential. They have a home to go to. We want them to go home. And, when it's a good home, a healthy environment to go to, I agree with that. But sometimes it is helpful for this step down. And another way to look at it is, if a youth is doing very well in secure residential, say maybe the first 2 months and they're participating in therapy, why not maybe the last half can be in this CLIPS unit? It's a better, a better setting, more opportunities in the community, and they can keep the same therapist and they can continue with those services as they step down into this. So we've had different ideas of how to best utilize the CLIPS program. But those are some of our ideas. And the last thing I'll speak about before I open up for some questions is just the programming that we run in the female CLIPS program is different than other units. So in the main buildings in the detention, secure residential, non-secure, they run Thinking for a Change, cog skills, and also decision points, which is they're pretty similar programs. In the female CLIPS unit, we do the Girls Moving On, which is the cog skills program that's designed to address emotional, social, behavioral challenges that young women face, particularly those involved in the juvenile justice system. So some of the modules: listening and being heard, building healthy relationships, managing emotions, making healthy connections, making healthy choices. And I like it because it's quite interactive, and it doesn't feel as much like a lecture. It feels more like an activity, and it's highly relational based. It's both building relationships and rapport with the staff members, being vulnerable, opening up about certain things. And there's some art involved. They make a vision board, different projects in there. So we've gotten good feedback from our female residents here. They really like the Girls Moving On group. Sure, there was a few things I missed, but wanted to open up to any questions at this time.
All right, we have questions. Go ahead.
Hi, Jake. When you were talking about your non-secure beds, your secure beds, and that you take referrals from other counties.
Mhm.
So I have heard that several counties, when there's not a bed available for a child or a youth that needs one, they end up staying in the emergency room at a hospital for about, well, I've heard up to 2 weeks. That was one in our county at $2,000 a day. And they're just sitting in the emergency room, so they're getting no help whatsoever. And obviously $2,000 a day is a big cost for county residents. So is that something that can be referred to your program?
It could. That would probably fit into the or non-secure program. They have emergency holds there, and they also have a it's called stabilization youth. So I don't know if you guys are interested in hearing rates. I mean, you mentioned $2,000. The highest we charge is for the stabilization kids, which would be $600 per day. Our CLIPS program, we charge $300 per day, which I believe is the lowest in the state amongst other similar programs. So we like to believe we are reasonable.
All right, so that is a referral that you could at least look over if counties referred someone to your organization, to your
Yes.
program. Thank you very much.
Okay, we've got Nikki and then Paula.
Jake, could you talk about the racial and ethnic demographics of the girls in your secure? And I mean, you have such a small number of girls in the transitional, but what makeup of the girls that you get up there?
Yeah, quite diverse. Just serving so many different counties. I mean, we serve 35 non-member counties that have participated. But yeah, it is quite the mix. In our detention secure residential program, gosh, I mean, it's a mix. I'm not.
Okay, I was wondering, because of where you're located,
Yeah.
I would assume you have a fair amount of Native girls in your space.
Oh, yes. Becker County and White Earth. Yes,
Yeah.
we've also served Red Lake Nation. We recently had a youth in our male clips program from there, and we got a referral yesterday as well from Native American youth, a female youth. So she's currently in our program and may step down there. She's got to show some more stable behaviors. So yeah, we have served a large population of Native American youth.
Okay, that's great. So I'm wondering then, my follow-up question would be, do you all have any like culturally responsive programming or volunteers that come in and kind of provide some of that? Or is that something, if you don't, that you guys are thinking about or wanting to incorporate?
We have so we have always allowed Native American youth to go off campus and smudge. We have brought youth to a sweat lodge on our college campus, and then a lot of times they're connected to mentors or some people associated with their tribe who we keep in touch with them and allow them to visit and to come in. We have furloughed youth to powwows as well. We had one at our high school a few months ago that some of our CLIPS youth attended.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, we've got Paula and then Angel and then Angela.
I'm going to ask three. Hi, Jake. Thanks for being here today and taking your time. Are you in charge of the Girls Clips program as well?
Yes.
Okay, so the first question I have is, I appreciate that you said you don't have any culturally responsive programming for girls right now. Is that correct? In-house, not where you let them go off campus.
Yeah, not in-house.
Okay. Okay, and then you said that the one program you mentioned that was girl responsive is the Moving On, which I'm familiar with. There are a number of other girl programs too, if you're interested in learning about more. But if I came to your program and I'm well versed in what happens in boys programs, and I am well versed in what should happen for girls programs from a female and culture standpoint, how would I know your programming, your culture of the girls clips is female and culturally responsive? What would I see, feel, hear?
Yeah, I mean, although I'm supervising the program, the case manager is a female. All the line staff are females. It's all female staff over here. We are also this month. Someone's going to be contacting me from Rape and Abuse Crisis Center, and they want to come over here and do a Not a Number group, and educate these young women about trafficking and amongst other topics that the Rape and Abuse Crisis Center provide. They're also they're going to do a group with the males too about the myths of masculinity. So that's another partnership we have there.
Great. Any other, like I walk on the unit for the girls, what does it look like different from boys?
Aesthetically?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the decor around here is welcoming. We got plants all over in here. The girls take care of those. We let them decorate their own rooms. It is a dorm style over here. That's one thing I should mention. A big difference. Dorm style, where the males they have their own rooms, and the females there's 4 large dorms, with the largest one being able to house 4 youth, and the smallest one being able to house 2. And this was not. It wasn't something where we preferred this. It was just the layout, the space that we were given. It was what we were able to do with the budget that we have, and it has worked out. And the girls really like it, although our numbers are low. So those things could change when we have more youth in here.
Okay. Okay, I know other people want to ask questions. So the other thing is, what training does your staff, and I'm assuming you have a female overnight staff at all times, right?
Yes.
You never have male, okay. What training do staff that work with girls have on female and culturally responsive? So race, ethnicity, like Nikki brought up, but also gender identity, sexual orientation, spirituality, those kind of things. What kind of training do they get?
Yes. Yeah, all of our staff they do at least 40 hours of training on all different topics throughout the year, which include things that you mentioned there. They're all trauma informed. They've completed trauma informed training. We know that in the overnight checks, the girls are vulnerable at that time, and a lot of it experience trauma. So everyone's well informed of these girls have experienced things, and they could have emotional reactions. That was one of the concerns that one of our psychiatrists brought up, was this dorm style living and maybe not feeling safe or private. So that's something we considered, and we do have built like barriers to give them more a sense of safety. Yes, we otherwise as far as gender identity and LGBTQ, there's training on that as well. We have had multiple youth who have been assigned biological sex but identify as the other sex, and we have had youth in our programs like that, and we've accommodated those, and really the youth have always been accepting. We haven't really had any issues with any of those youth that we serve.
Okay, last question from me. What is your behavior management program for the CLIPS girls? And I'm particularly interested if you use level system.
We do not do points or levels. We decided not to do that because we wanted to make this feel as natural as possible. If you're meeting all the basic expectations, you can slowly, progressively earn certain privileges. And if you're not meeting basic expectations, then some of those top privileges are going to be temporarily revoked. But one thing I want to talk about, just so I don't forget this, something that really makes the CLIPS program unique. I thought of this when you talked about behavioral management. So if they're ordered here through probation, we include in the court order that they can be temporarily transferred to secure detention if behaviors warrant, right? So some other transitional living or group home places across the state, if a certain behavior were to occur, they might terminate them from the program. But here, we transfer them to the secure detention unit. They'll be there for a period of a few days to several days where they can process with staff members, complete assignments, and then when they're ready, they can transfer back to the CLIPS program. That has been very helpful. Probably, I don't know what the percentage is, but there's some that will never see secure detention, maybe 50%, but others, they might have to spend some time in secure detention for certain things. Like I've seen damage to property, seen someone break a TV. Now he might be kicked out if he was elsewhere, but did some time in secure detention, learned from that, came back to CLIPS. We've had problems with contraband, vapes. Seem like it's a pandemic. Get their hands on vapes out in the community when they're at their job, or they get it from a coworker and they try to sneak them in. So that might be something where they temporarily transfer to secure detention. But yeah, that's been very helpful. Otherwise, we use resets. Thinking reports have been helpful. We try to frame that it's not a consequence; it's a processing tool, so they can examine their thought process and look at the risky thoughts that led to their behaviors and try to change their thinking. So it's a lot of time spent with staff members. We want any negative action, we're looking what can we learn from it, what can we do differently, and how do we plan for the future so it doesn't happen again.
Okay, Angel?
Thank you.
Okay. Hello. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming and attending and answering our questions. I think I have two questions. The first one, as far as the cultural training, I heard you say that they're required to do 40 hours of training, and I know sometimes in that training, it's annually. It's a training that just has to be done over and over again every year. Who is doing those trainings? Do you guys have somebody that has cultural experience or is part of the BIPOC community that is coming to do these trainings?
We have a training coordinator here who's doing the majority of the training, but we have people come in as well, or our clinical supervisor of our therapy team. She does a lot of the trainings too. Trauma informed and things of that nature. So let's see, as far as
That's okay. What is the culture of staff that is in there?
the culture of staff?
Yep, the culture of staff. Do you have, different culture of staff in there? Do you have staff that are part of the BIPOC community?
Yes,
Okay.
we do. In our secure residential unit where I previously worked, that has a lot of full-time staff members and consistency in there. And there's actually Yeah, Caucasian staff members are actually minority for the full-time staff members.
Okay. And then one more question. I heard you talk about transitioning and some of them wanting to go to college, some of them
Mhm.
wanting to go be on their own, and some of them wanting to go back into their community.
Mhm.
What does it look like for somebody that is getting used to being somewhere so far away and then wanting to go transition back to family?
Mhm. Yes.
I get,
Yeah.
and I guess what I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What I mean by that is there support within the program for the parents as well, and being able to support the child that would like to come back home?
Mhm. I would say over half of youth that are in therapy, I should say 95% of those that are in programming are in therapy. And then about over half of those are also involved with family therapy sessions.
Okay.
And if the goal is to return home, which it almost always is, we put a huge emphasis on furloughs and visits. So we do Zoom visits as well. So phone calls, Zoom visits, and then also we invite them on site to visit here, and they can take their child off site for what we call furloughs. We usually start those furloughs small, like a day pass, take them out for 4 hours, 8 hours, and then they gradually work their way up to overnight passes for those from Twin Cities area or multiple hours away. They might have a whole weekend, get picked up on a Friday and return on a Sunday night, something along those lines. And then that's and then we get a lot of feedback. We get feedback from the parent. How do things go? Were there any issues that occurred during the furlough, or the things that we can work on now that they're back with us? And the success of those furloughs and the progress in the therapy and family therapy can kind of determine or helps us know when would be an appropriate time to actually transition back home. And we have community services in place prior to them discharging from us, so they can really hit the ground running and build on the success they had while they're here.
Okay, and then to follow up on the support, if it's very far from the Twin Cities, you guys are pretty far, and not all families and parents are able to get that far to be able to participate. Not saying that they don't want to, but it can be difficult. Is there any support or advocacy for those families to be able to participate if they're struggling?
There's not a financial option from us, but we have seen through Hennepin and Ramsey, I've noticed that they did have some money at one point. I know it was frozen for at one moment. I don't know if it's rolling again, but they were able to buy or give gas cards to families and help purchase bus tickets for those youth that are old enough. We have had them ride the Greyhound bus home. We coordinate everything. We bring them to the bus stop, watch them board the bus, watch the bus take off. We get a call from the family member once they're safely picked up at the bus stop on the other end. So yeah, we've kind of been thinking outside of the box on how to get more of those furloughs happening.
Okay. And then I promise I lied, one more question.
Yeah.
What does self-care look like for the ladies? Activities are different for the boys and the ladies. And so what does the activities look like for the girls? What does their self-care and empowerment look like?
Right. So there is where should I start here? We've had a professor from Concordia College bring in some students for what is the group called? Mindfulness group, right? So they do some different techniques, deep breathing. They do some small conversations. They do yoga, things like that. And the girls will like that. And a lot of times they got yoga mats out in the morning. Our staff members love to take them out for walks. One of the girls likes to rollerblade, ride bicycles. So yeah, getting them active and outside. Whereas the boys, more of them, they like to go to our gym and do more like vigorous physical activity in the weight room, where that's less common with our female residents. But people like to get their activity in different ways, so we just try to see where their interest lies and meet them there.
Nice. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Angela.
Thank you, Jake, for your presentation. It was really interesting and helpful to hear everything that you guys are doing. I just had a question about getting the curriculum, perhaps, that you said was provided by Lutheran Social Services and Oasis regarding their psychological and psychiatric care. Is that possible at all? Is that, first of all, is that same for the female side of CLIPS as the male, or is it a little bit? I know you mentioned another program. It was Girls Moving On, but are the other programs available to the females as well?
Yeah, so the Girls Moving On is the cog skills group that is taught by our staff members here. And then Lutheran Social Services is the agency that has that's our contracted therapists. So yeah, they're doing, they complete diagnostic assessments, and they're doing the weekly therapy sessions, providing therapy updates and reports to us. And then Oasis Mental Health and Wellness is the psychiatrist, our contracted psychiatrist that does medication management. So all youth in both the male and female CLIPS program have access to those services.
Both. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Kaylee has a few more.
Sounds good. I have had the opportunity to work with Jake. We've had a couple Wright County youth that have been in the male CLIPS program, and have enjoyed working with you guys. So thank you for the work that you do. I have not had a female yet in your program, but certainly have it in mind for potential for a couple that may at some point benefit from your program. A couple of questions for you, Jake. So you mentioned that you have female staff. I assume the females are facilitating the Moving On curriculum, correct?
Correct.
Do you know, so Wright County, we just started doing Moving On this past year. And I know we found it the women really enjoyed it. The staff and facilitators have really enjoyed it. But one of the downfalls of Moving On is that it is a long group and it's a closed group typically. I'm just curious, are you guys running it as a closed group? Being as, I realize you only have 4 right now, but so now let's say you get 3 more that are going to be added into the CLIPS program, let's just say next week. Are you running through the curriculum at all times? Are you restarting girls? I'm sure some of these conversations are being had and maybe this hasn't all been sorted out, but I'm just curious where you guys are at with that right now.
Yeah, when I went through the training, the facilitator, how she explained it to me is that they can jump in at the beginning of each module,
Okay.
but not at a certain lesson within the module. So so if a girl were to start today and they're in the middle of a module, she wouldn't be attending those groups until they started the new module. And so they are longer groups. They're 2 hours. So we've been running them twice per week, and then documenting everyone that attends, because some of the girls are employed. So if they miss a group, then they can make up a group with the case manager or a different staff member when there is time. We figured that was the best way to do it, instead of scheduling it every Tuesday and Friday and making the girls not be able to work those days. That would kind of limit their hours of employment. We decided to do it this way to have some more flexibility and allow them more time to work their hours at their job. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. And then my next and I believe last question is, obviously the population with teen girls, mental health crises are constantly something that I am dealing with my clients. I know that sometimes can create some barriers to programs for not being equipped to maybe be able to navigate the self-harm, suicide ideation, stabilization. How do you guys respond to mental health crises within that CLIPS program? Do you sometimes have them stabilize at a local hospital and return to you with the step down? Or what have you guys found in the short time you've been doing it? Maybe also too with your secure unit, but.
As far as CLIPS unit, so if a resident is displaying a few things, but violent behavior or self-harm, or suicidal ideation, then they can't be in the CLIPS unit at that time. So for those here on probation, that might mean temporarily moving them in secure detention just for their safety, because in CLIPS, you can get your hands on things. We have a full kitchen. They have all their own clothing and different things that you could harm yourself with. So sometimes if a mental health crisis happens, that temporary transfer to secure detention is appropriate. And for those that are here on social service holds, they can temporarily transfer to non-secure, where again we can keep them safer. And then they're kind of reevaluated. We have nursing staff here, our psychiatrists, and case management. We determine when they're safe to return to CLIPS if they don't have to be on a mental health watch any longer.
Thank you. Okay, it sounds like we have, I don't see any other hands or any other questions from anyone. Maybe one more, Vicky.
One more. Did you say Vicky?
Paula, I'm sorry.
It's okay, Vicky. One more question. In my many years of experience, I've worked in programs that have done well. I've worked in programs that haven't done well. And I absolutely believe that the success of a program, particularly for girls, is based on involving the girls in program development, program assessment, and program evaluation. Without that, it's just, white dominant culture, boy-based programming. Do you involve girls in any of those things, program development, assessment, and evaluation?
Yes, they are involved in the development of their case plan and treatment contract and the goals that they want to work on. So the case managers develop they finalize those plans, but with the input from the client. They've given suggestions about community activities. Those are usually picked by the residents with staff approval. They went to a baseball game the other day, watched fireworks, things like that. So yeah, we try to involve the clients as much as possible. As far as assessments, we use the Ohio Youth Assessment Screening Tool. So there's one for secure residential, there's one for reentry, different assessments that shows which areas that we should be focusing on for their case plan. We also have an assessment that asks over 100 questions about things related to independent living skills, and so that's another way how we measure if they are learning things here based on that assessment.
Just a follow-up question to that point. Are you using that same assessment in the girls program as well, or do you have a gender specific assessment?
They're the same.
Okay. My final question is, do you have any disqualifying offenses that would prevent somebody from being in CLIPS, or disqualifying type behaviors that prevent you from accepting or allowing certain girls to participate in the CLIPS program?
Mm-hmm. Not necessarily disqualifying offenses, but there can be disqualifying behaviors if they are recent. So if there's very recent violence or aggression, destruction of property, major mental health concerns, psychotic breaks, things like that are recent, those would be disqualifiers. But if certain things like those happened 6 months, a year ago, and they've completed some residential programming with success and have shown stability, then those are the youth that we're accepting. So I'm really looking just for recent stability and success, so we have a general idea that they can handle a setting like this with more freedoms and more room for error.
Okay. And then one other kind of question related to your comment about public defenders arguing for kids to go home. Do you have some sort of a way, what do you do to show the girls in this case, or boys for that matter, what CLIPS is all about to get them interested in wanting to participate in that program? Do they get to tour it? How do they know about it?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I provide them with the brochures that you guys have, and then also we allow them to tour the units. We bring them through there, you know, try to get some excitement and see if they can envision themselves in here. And what we've noticed is when a resident is on board, then the public defender's of course on board as well. So a lot of times in the order here, it's because they want to, and then sometimes when they don't want to, and they're ordered here, it's within a matter of weeks. They're like, this isn't so bad. I can do this, and they kind of get excited about things they can accomplish. Where in other units, I used to hear all the time, what do I have to do to get out? But in clips, I'm hearing more of what can I accomplish while I'm here so I can set myself up for my future.
So, I mean, just public defenders have an ethical obligation to advocate for what their client wants, not what is in their best interest. So
Yes,
if
yes.
client, so you should never hear a public defender advocating for a child to go to clips if they don't want to go to clips. If they want to go home, we are ethically obligated to make that argument. So, I mean, to the degree that you get buy-in from the child, if you're concerned that we're making arguments that the kids should go home and they should be in clips, you have to get that buy-in from the child before we talk to them, because we are ethically obligated to do what they want, not what they necessarily. If that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Understood.
One more question from Nikki, and then Angela, your hand is still up. I don't know if that's a new question or if it's still up from before.
Oh, I just have a new question, but if we don't have time, it's okay.
I think we have time. So Nikki and then Angela.
Well, I was just gonna ask Jake, I like that you shared earlier when we were talking about youth wanting to go home and not, the public defender piece. And then you shared right after that, you said, we've been talking about, instead of extending a youth's time, right? You could actually split up the time they have with you between the secure residential and clips, right? So it's the same amount of time, but you're distributing it differently. So is that something that, like is an internal, is that something you all have the authority to decide how to break up that time for youth? I guess, is that an internal decision to your program, or are there like other decision makers that have to be a part of that? And is that something you all are seriously kind of thinking about right now?
So how we envision this working is, well, one, if a referral gets sent to the program director of the secure residential program, and he reviews everything and thinks maybe low level offense or low chance of recidivism, maybe they would be better off in a CLIPS program instead of entering the secure program, because unfortunately sometimes a youth might get exposed to things in the secure residential that maybe they wouldn't have if they were in clips. There's youth in there that have severe mental health issues and maybe multiple felonies, and they're talking a lot of war stories. So sometimes youth learn some things in there that they shouldn't have. So that's one thing, identifying those low risk youth that maybe could be in clips instead. And the other way is, if the program director of secure residential accepts someone and he sees within the first couple months there's no issues with this person, they can continue services in clips, then we would go ask for a disposition modification, or call for a review hearing and get a new court order that can allow them to finish their treatment in the clips program.
Thank you. Angela, last question, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, thank you. This is just to piggyback on a couple of the other questions that were raised about, you had mentioned behavioral issues that may preclude going to clips from secured residential, and then also perhaps a court order for who goes into clips. Is it like the psychiatrist or the medical team in any way making those decisions, and does it differ between the female and male units at all? Sorry if I'm asking the same question.
Are they making this decisions of,
like, what are the behaviors that are qualifying or disqualifying them to go to clips from secured residential, for example?
Yes, we have. Yeah, we're getting input from everyone with those decisions. Call it our treatment team. We have in secure residential, they meet every other week. In CLIPS, we meet once a month with the psychiatrist, the therapy team, case management team, everyone. So that's kind of the table of how we're making, who's making those decisions.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, well, I appreciate the information. Thank you, Jake, for coming and sharing all of this with us. And I know, I think we got a lot of your handouts, and for those of us that, I know that they were shared electronically, and for those of us that are here in person, we got the piles from you. So we appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, Jake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Okay,
you.
and then our next presenter is Maya, and she's going to talk to us about the youth grievance procedure. So Maya, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, you all had questions last time about the grievance procedure. And I know, I believe in the emails that I saw, there's a link posted to 2960. So hopefully you all could see kind of what's in that in terms of how we are trying to kind of manage the grievance process. Excuse me. I provided 3 things for you. So one of them, if you're online, you'll see it title, or it's called grievance process, but I see that I titled it grievance procedure on the top of the document. I really created that specifically for all of you, trying to kind of answer some of the questions I know that you all had, like how do the youth see the grievance process and stuff like that. So I tried to put a lot of what you all were interested in and concerned about into that document. And then the second document is the, oh man, I got 3 screens over here going, so bear with me. I think so it's grievance process and rights from the Student Handbook 2025 is what I called it if you're online. And at the top of the actual document, it says Anoka County grievance process. And this is straight from our handbook. So this is what the youth would see. And then I also included the family rights, resident and family rights. And then the third thing I provided was a picture of our grievance box. So you guys can kind of see, like when referencing in the first document, like putting things in the grievance box, like that's what it is. So I will quick go over the grievance procedure. So first of all, like the grievance procedure is really about resident rights, making sure that their rights are met, and that if their rights are being violated, that there's some sort of process for them to kind of advocate for themselves. And so it's really important, obviously, then that the youth know what their rights are. The rights are pretty much decided for us by the Department of Corrections. So if you're looking on the second page of the handbook document, that's the rights, and those are posted in our intake office, in the group areas. It's in the handbooks, and we have to keep a copy of the handbooks in the group areas. So there's at least basically 2 copies of the resident rights in all the group areas. And then also posted in the staff area. So it's pretty readily accessible to youth. When they're orientated into their group, which usually happens within the same day of their intake, and obviously there's some nuance to that, right? Like if they come in at 8 p.m., well, bedtime's 9 p.m., intake usually takes about an hour. So they're not then getting intaked into their group that particular night. But, you know, if they come in at a reasonable hour, it's usually within the same day that they'd get oriented into their group. And then the group is going to review those rights and that grievance process. All the youth have to participate in orientation in their group. So if I come in today, I get oriented into the group, and then we get a new group member on Friday, then everybody is going through this orientation process again. And that's, I think, useful and important because it makes sure that the kids are kind of seeing the rules regularly, they're seeing their rights regularly, they're seeing the grievance process regularly. You know, we all know that when you're coming in the door in a new place, you might get a little flustered and might not hear the information as well as you could. So like, great, another intake comes in on Friday. I might be able to take in this grievance process a little bit better the second time I hear orientation than I was the first time. It also obviously has the benefit of, since the orientation process is youth led, they're hearing it from their peers. Maybe their peers can explain it in a way that makes more sense to them than what an adult can. And also there's a certain amount of like verbiage that comes directly from the DOC that we're not really supposed to mess with. So like, we're giving you the DOC verbiage, but then again, a kid in your group can give you the, you know, kid verbiage that's hopefully a little bit more accessible. And then, so if a youth wants to put in a grievance, they can give it directly to a staff. They can give it directly to our program coordinators, who would be the first person to kind of look at a grievance, or they can put it in the PREA box. That's what happens. The PREA grievance box. That's what happens most of the time. All of our PREA complaints also go in there. And then the coordinators check the boxes twice a week. If like my coordinator he's getting married in September, when he's gone, I will be doing the box checks, right? They basically review their complaint, kind of figure out what was going on, figure out what they need to do with it. And then, like, so sometimes kids grieve things that aren't really grievable. Like a youth grieved that we don't give them coffee with every meal. That's not really grievable. And then there's really like, there's still a response, but it's not kind of like an official, like, here's your right, here's what you said was violated, here's what happened, here's how we looked at it and addressed it, and here's how we're rectifying the situation. So there'll still be kind of just a quick written like, hey, you don't have a right to coffee. But if there's actual like right involved, then they get like a longer, more detailed written response, and that has to be done within 5 days. If they're unsatisfied with that response, they can go to the next level of leadership. And we do have 3 buildings on campus, and we have coordinators and supervisors in each building. So also again, like when Matt's gone for his wedding, like if we needed another layer of people, like I can tap like John or Mike from the other buildings. And so there's some kind of also easy kind of redundancy in there where we can make sure we're covering all the things that we need to in terms of making sure the rights of these youth are not violated and the grievance process is going as smoothly as possible. Yeah, so I think I'll stop there because I only have 10 minutes. What questions do y'all have?
I have a quick question. So it looked to me like for step 1, there's something that says all verbal grievances are documented and filed with the unit supervisor for program review and DOC licensing. For the
Yes.
rest of the steps, do they also get sent to DOC licensing?
So we don't send anything to DOC licensing. We have to keep it all for 2 licensing cycles, and then they review it when they come out and do our licensing. And they could, of course, come out and review it at any point if they have a concern, if there's been an additional complaint, if, you know, whatever reason they want to. But we don't usually send them directly to them. They review them when they come out to do our licensing inspections. I should also say that in our annual report, I think, or in our quarterly reports, like we do kind of do a little snippet about how many grievances we've had.
Do those quarterly reports go to the DOC?
Yeah, to our licensing inspector.
Okay. And then so then you guys just kind of you just summarize how many have been filed, but not necessarily the content?
So let me see here if I can bring one up. I'm not summarizing just how many, but I'm also not going super in depth in the content, if that makes sense. Like, so it's more than a number. Like sometimes I might say something like, you know, I don't know, 5 youth grieved I don't know. I'm trying to think of what I put in last year's report. You know, 5, I had, I think last year, maybe like 3 youth grieve bugs in their rooms. Every spring we end up with bugs coming in, and then we get sprayed and it all gets, you know, figured out usually within a few days. And we don't keep a kid in a room that's got a lot of bugs in it, you know, so it's like, you know, 3 youth, wrote grievances for pest control, and all of these were like moved to other rooms and the rooms were sprayed. You know, like it's something maybe short that I would say it wouldn't necessarily be as, I'm not going to say like I looked into it and I read this and I talked to staff and I talked to the kid, you know, like all that step-by-step stuff that I write in the act, like as a response to actual grievance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. So then, okay, the licensing cycle with DOC is every 2 years they have to go out, but they can go out beforehand. Is that
Yeah.
what I'm remembering
Yeah.
correctly? Okay.
Yeah.
So theoretically, they would go every 2 years, they would collect all the grievances.
Yeah, they usually like collect them, read them, and return them.
And like when they come out to do that every 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like I usually receive them back, and then we have to keep them for 2 licensing cycles. So basically for 4 years.
Are they all, oh, I'm sorry.
Is there ever an instance where something goes to licensing or any requirements for something to go to licensing right away if it's egregious enough? Or is it just whenever they collect them every 2 years?
I would say the things that go directly to licensing, like a youth might write a grievance on something that needs to go directly to licensing, but that's not necessarily the reason why I would have reported it, right? Like if we were in a situation where like a staff assaulted a youth, I'm going to report that regardless of whether or not a kid files a grievance. You know what I'm saying? So like I would say, yeah, there are things that are egregious enough that they'd get reported directly to licensing, but generally speaking, it wouldn't be because of the grievance. It would be because it's an offense that needs to be reported to licensing.
And is there I mean, I'm sure we saw this at some point, but is there a list somewhere, a policy written down where it breaks down, like here are the things that must be reported directly right away, and here are the other things that are just grievances?
Well, I'll tell you what, there is kind of a list. Um, but I mean, there's definitely a list. Let me say that. However, I think I guess supposedly my understanding is right now they've kind of realized that it's not actually fully aligned with 2960. So they've been changing the list and they haven't really given us guidance on the changes. So we're kind of just on some of the things like if a staff assaulted a youth, I know I got to report that. On other things, like I'm like, well, what is the guidance on this? Am I supposed to report it? Am I not? Like we're kind of in a limbo period right now and we've asked for guidance and they haven't given us any. So if anybody wants to say anything to somebody, I'm fine with that.
You're somebody.
I sure
Here we are. Yeah, so maybe just a little more clarity would be, and transparency about, so everyone's on the same page about what we think should be directly reported right away. And
Isn't that what we're gonna do next? I have a quick
Perhaps,
question
but
Related to
Yeah.
that, I think it's
Like,
connected.
I
wanna
have
go
this
back to the
list right here.
electronics,
This is the old list, but some of the stuff that's on the list is no longer in the like reporting portal. And there's new things in the reporting. So I mean I keep this list right here.
who
So I
generated
literally
that list? Where is that list from? Is that like a DOC admin list or something that you guys created?
It's a list. No, it's a list created by the DOC.
Okay.
But it is now kind of out of date if that, like, again, they've made some changes, but they haven't provided us with a whole lot of clarity.
Thank you.
Quick question about going back to the electronic. So you keep that all electronically, I'm sure. All the grievances, somebody inputs that. It's not
I have
paper.
all, huh?
It's not paper. It's all documented electronically, I hope.
In
The
terms of
grievances.
like my documentation or in terms,
The
like, 'cause
grievances.
the kids all write paper grievances.
Okay, and then how is that, it's not kept electronically? That Nikki put in a grievance on July 1st and then put in another one on July 2nd. That's not tabulated in an electronic, like an Excel doc or anything like that?
I keep it all, like I keep all of my documentation and stats, yes, documented electronically, but I also keep all the original paper grievances and have them in a drawer.
But do you know if that's standard procedure to keep them electronically?
I don't know if, I mean, I guess I've never asked. Like, I don't know in my head why I would not keep it
Sure,
electronically.
but you are extremely organized, my dear. Here's the other question. So given what I'm hearing, the grievances are not used for data analysis. So they're not used to assess themes, patterns, or any of that kind of thing, like per unit one, unit two. They're not used in that way. Is that correct? Like somebody's not looking at the quarterly grievances and saying, oh man, we've had like 10 submitted on a staff person looking at a kid in a way that made them feel uncomfortable. So there's no data analysis. Is that correct?
The way I understand it is that's not like the expectation of the DOC, so I can't say what
Sure.
every program is doing. I would say personally for me, if I'm looking at my grievances and I go, holy cow, we've had an influx in grievances about such and such a situation, like why wouldn't I be
Again,
looking into that?
you're
Like
Maya.
all the grievances have to come to my desk, so like
Right.
I'm going to notice any patterns and address them if there
But
seems
that's
to
a
be
standard,
something.
and I'm not
Big
judging you.
picture
I'm
is
just
there's
saying,
no,
yeah,
right, like.
that
there's
would be
no
something we would want to talk about.
enforcement
Yeah.
of every individual facility program, whatever, can
Yeah.
determine how they want to handle their grievances. Is that, I mean,
Or to use
ultimately
it
what the
as
discussion
program
is?
improvement or reducing grievances. Thank you, Maya. That's not a judgment about you. I know you keep that track, but it's not an expectation of DOC or licensing or anything like that. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Nikki, I think you had one final question.
Yeah, so
for
I
me.
have a question, and it's not really to you, Maya, though Maya, feel free to answer it if you have an answer, but it could also be Jeff or Luann, you might know as ombuds, or Crystal. This number 10, substantiated. Like I have a feeling in my head, like when I think of if a grievance has been substantiated, to me that means there was some investigation. What I've been told and what I would like clarity on, that the DOC defines substantiated is if a youth accuses a staff of something, DOC will go to that staff member and ask if it happened. And if the staff member says no, that's it. Then the claim is unsubstantiated and it doesn't. Okay. So what is the criteria to meet the definition of substantiated?
Well, substantiated is, or substantiated or unsubstantiated. Substantiated is, we can prove it, we know it happened. The evidence in the investigation point to the fact that it did happen. Unsubstantiated is just not the opposite of that. It is unsubstantiated is we can't prove that it did happen. And so we can't take action on it because the evidence doesn't point and doesn't indicate it happened. Part of the investigation is asking the person that's included, but it doesn't stop there. There's a whole lot more that can be involved in investigation. There's video evidence, there's witness evidence, there's, someone's past history even can be brought into and questioned if it's in context. So, yeah.
Yes, so if I can give like an example.
Yeah.
I had a youth fairly recently file a grievance saying that a staff hit her with a vacuum. And this was pretty easy to investigate, but so she of course said he did, he said he didn't. I talked to other girls that were like other residents that were there and the other staff, but obviously the most important evidence I had in that one was the camera footage, like, and he didn't hit her with a vacuum. So it wasn't just about like him saying, nope, I didn't. Like, it was like, I think I took the better part of the day making sure that I found all the information I could before I kind of made a decision on that one.
Thank you.
In the case of an individual, let's say an employee who has had repeat unsubstantiated complaints, right? Is that taken into consideration?
I would get at the patterns.
I mean, is that the pattern you're talking about,
Yeah.
or is it only
It's
if they've
not-
had previous substantiated complaints?
Well, I think that I'm not speaking for the Department of Corrections here.
Sure,
I'm just
of course.
making an
Just
assumption.
generally, I mean,
When I
yeah,
say
I'm just
this,
trying to
I think
understand.
human nature would kind of where that would go.
Yeah.
It's not a policy, in our policy or an investigative policy that, you've got for unsubstantiated relatively related to this thing. You've been
Similar
accused of this
things.
4 times.
Yeah.
So therefore, we're gonna weigh that in there. But
Okay.
human nature is such that, like, you're looking at this. I'm sure that happens, but it's not part of the.
It
formal
just
review
strikes me
process.
that in any situation where it's a incarcerated person versus a staff person and, in criminal law, we call it like a he said, she said, and there's no other evidence, it feels like that would always weigh against the person incarcerated.
Always.
And so but if you have a stack of those sort of unsubstantiated things, then, it seems like that could be taken into consideration.
Although I imagine
Yes.
that's the union.
I'm sure, well, the union will always get involved in any sort of discipline, which is fair,
Yeah.
I mean, it's all of this is like fair, it's just, I,
Also,
yeah.
I think there's also sometimes like you don't have necessarily a substantiated claim, but it doesn't mean you can't necessarily like do something with it. Like, just to be honest, like there was a staff who had to be just like, don't talk to this kid anymore. Like, I don't think he was trying to be malicious, but he said some stupid stuff. And I was like, you just don't talk to her anymore at all until she leaves. Like that's because you can't, like, so I think there is some things, I mean, when you get a claim that's kind of, it's not unfounded, it's not substantiated, like there is some level of, you can be thoughtful as a leader about how do we improve this situation.
Yeah, and without rising to discipline. Yeah, for sure.
Do you ever talk about that in staff meetings so that people can be like you?
Talk about, hey, make decisions that are a little bit more thoughtful about a
Well,
kid's.
I mean, I know programs aren't expected to do any data collection or any data analysis, right? I understand that.
Mm.
But in programs, in your staff team meetings, which I hope you have, I'm assuming you have, that you would talk about grievances and, we're hearing a lot from kids about XYZ. We really want to remind you about 2960 rule, 5925, and just common sense stuff. Like, do you ever use the grievances and what you know from your experience as a supervisor to improve and help educate staff?
Oh, for sure, right? So it depends on the grievance. Obviously, if it's the kid who wants coffee with every meal, I'm not bringing them up in any staff meetings, but if it's, hey, the staff are really loud on the overnight shift and it's hard for us to sleep, and I see 3 or 4 of those grievances come in pretty quickly, like, yeah, we're going to talk about it at the staff meeting. Like, this is something that is fixable. We need to figure it out,
Okay, that's not
It seems
necessarily
like
standard.
people could use some feedback forms, like we have feedback and ideas of how to improve things. It's not necessarily grievance, but hey.
I actually think that's a super great idea because sometimes I'm like, the kids sometimes use the grievance forms as diaries. Like, like.
Maybe you could, why not have a feedback form? Then they can kind of discern in their own minds too, like, is this a violation or is this something that I have ideas about improving? It kind of invites them to be co-creators of their own programming and experience.
And
too.
Vicky, I think, had
Vicky has her hand up. So go ahead, Vicky, and then we'll.
Yeah, I actually wrote it in the chat, but I'm curious. It seems like the grievance process relies on average literacy skills, both being able to read the policies and be able to write a grievance. Is there a process for people who maybe have low literacy skills? That I'm just curious. Yeah.
I think if we had a kid who we felt literacy skills were so low that like they couldn't kind of get it from their peers, because again, a lot of times that helps because kids can talk to kids in ways that they get, then usually I would say the staff would go over it with them individually. I think that my understanding of 2960 is we are supposed to try and provide the information in ways that kids would understand, right? So like we also have it all written out in Spanish we don't get that many full Spanish speaking kids, but if we do, we have the information available, right? So I think it's kind of, I would say on a case by case basis. I will say most of the kids can get it, like understand the grievance process. We have gotten some grievances that are pretty much completely illegible or not it just does, like, you can read the words, but they don't go together. And I mean, that's just all right, well, I know that this kid wrote it, so we're gonna go in. I'm gonna find out. I've literally sometimes written in the grievance, like I've interviewed the kid and then basically said, this is what the grievance is, and wrote it on their grievance so that it would be clear to the licensing what the kid is even grieving before they get to my response. So I would say, what I'm doing here is on a case by case basis. What the policy or what 2960 wants is that all kids would be able to understand it. How every facility does it, I'm not really sure.
Thank you. That was really helpful.
Thanks, Maya.
I appreciate it. And it sounds like you're doing a good job there.
I'm trying.
That's all we can all do, right? We can all do the best with what we have. So, okay. Next on our agenda, it says youth grievance procedure planning. I assume that means us having a conversation about this, perhaps? Is that what the intent was?
I think what we said was, go ahead, Vicky.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think the idea we had discussed possibly coming up with like a model with taking like kind of Maya's process possibly and creating that could be I don't know, recommended to other I think that's what that is meaning to other juvenile systems.
I think we should do that, but I don't think that is possible to do in 20 minutes.
No, we did.
Actually, we have less than that. So what I think we should do.
Can I say what we did talk about too last time?
Sure.
That we talked about doing a subcommittee that does a draft and then presents?
Yeah, I think that
Because
makes
would-
sense.
Yeah.
So my thought is I'm gonna add that to the list here under goal priorities, major needs, youth grievance procedure planning, I would think would go under that as a separate bullet point. So why don't we move, so I'm gonna table that to our discussion about goals, priorities, needs, and we can figure out how to tackle those. Jeff, do you want to give us an update or information on the victim assistance at Shakti?
Absolutely. There are two packets that are included with what Shelby handed out. One has this documented as sexual prevention and intervention. That whole packet, set that aside for a moment. No, that's the one I want to start. I'm sorry. I'm sneaking up in there. So this packet that you have that includes that is everything that's available to people at Shakopee. They get this, the sexual abuse prevention intervention document. They get that at intake. Everybody new coming in gets this. The PREA stuff is, and this is specifically about PREA, but PREA stuff is gone over with. There's a video, there's information, all kinds of information, questionnaires, all that stuff that happens at intake. This is the same document that happens throughout our system. It's attached to policy. So this is it's really information that comes from the law and our policies on this. So I'm not going to get really into all that. We all know that. The rest of this packet is really the bulletins and announcements that are posted throughout the facility. You literally cannot go down a hallway at Shakopee and not see some of this material. One thing I don't see in here is specifically here one. So there's two of them, two of them. There is do not live in darkness and fear. There's that, and in Spanish, those are literally in every nook and cranny in all of our facilities. So it's I think that if there's any danger in this, is the overexposure and people just kind of missing out on it because it's everywhere and it just becomes part of the wall. But it's there and people know where to go to find resources. Part of this, part of the posters that are all over the facilities include phone number for victim services, which really is the point I talk mostly about today. But my point here is that people coming into our facilities are well aware of resources dealing with rights for victimization. So what is that kind of that process that's involved with that? That's the other packet. What I want to make here too is that these are in multiple languages as well. And so I think that's important to do. The other packet, if you go through and find the MCF Shakopee Victim Services document here, this really is what I think I was asked to provide. The other stuff, the other material is just supportive information about what's available to the people at Shakopee. But Victim Services is anybody who is requesting the services or victim services or victim advocacy, we would refer to our Victim Services Unit, Victim Services Restorative Justice Unit. And they provide a number of services to the women at Shakopee. So in one of those major services is advocacy services. Victim Services Department of Corrections has MOUs and contracts with community-based advocacy programs for the purpose of providing advocacy services. And those programs that they have MOUs with is on this document. So there are a number of throughout the state that we connect folks with for advocacy services and that kind of stuff. Victim Services Unit provides bi-monthly trainings to the advocates around issues that they want to learn about, the advocates want to learn about as it relates to providing services to Department of Corrections clients. The Victim Services Unit develops plans around that they're individual based plans around somebody's cultural needs, their release date, you know, where they're from, where they're going back to connect with or try to connect them to have what am I trying to say? Have maybe a seamless connection back to the community so they can work with the same people they've been working with in the facilities. There's advocacy around PREA. There's advocacy around intimate partner violence. Nikki has provided our case managers just very recently some very cool training and informative training on intimate partner violence and the resources and processes there. So there's a bunch of victim services or victim advocacy, especially that our Victim Services Unit offers. The women at Shakopee are well aware of that. Case managers are aware of the services and make referrals all the time for that. Victim Services also, in conjunction with my unit, coordinates support groups around victimization issues that's provided here on the back of that page by Oasis of Love and Sexual Violence Center. We have Southern Valley Alliance coming in, other and additional support group, supportive resources and support group meetings for people wishing to have that type of support as well.
Jeff, Vicky asked in the chat, are all these programs that are listed currently offered at Shakopee?
Which programs are you referring to?
The Oasis of Love FD and the SBA Fusion.
Well, all of these too.
Well, those aren't programs at
Oh, those are
Shakopee. Those are
contracts.
resources that we have relationships with who we tap into to provide advocacy services for individual advocacy services for people seeking those. So Vicky, yes, all of Oasis of Love and Sexual Violence Center are active in the trauma support group, providing trauma support group. Basically, they switch. They one will do it for a cycle. So Oasis of Love will do it for a cycle. Then the Sexual Violence Center will come in and pick up and do it for the next cycle, and they'll flip flop back and forth.
So Jeff, this one that you guys are considering right now, the Southern Valley Alliance proposal. Do you know anything about Southern Valley Alliance in this room? Are they
Yeah.
legit?
Yeah, they're one of our DV programs. And so they're coming in, SVC is coming in and Oasis of Love to do the sexual violence support groups. And then we really wanted to see an intimate partner violence specific support group. So SVA will be doing IPV specific support group. And what's nice too is that Oasis of Love is a culturally specific program. It's African American based, so it's nice that there's that representation as well as they go between the two of them.
Yeah, I wonder if there could be one specific to American Indians.
We are looking, and we did a lot of work in the late winter and spring around researching and trying to bring in African American, or not American Indian resources and programming specifically. That's a good suggestion that I can pass on to services unit that and in those discussions.
So I think you had somebody listed here for an external. I mean, I saw Mille Lacs Band Ojibwe Women's Services here.
Yeah, I think it's like, part of it is like a distance issue,
Yeah.
right? It's like who's near Shakopee to be able to go in and do something like that weekly.
It's better to do it in person than virtually, but
Right.
I know that there's some organizations too, like lists that have like they're like hubs for the tribes in cities as well. But okay,
Yes.
and Shakopee's closed.
And Jeff, are
and we
these
have
in
a-
addition to, like, do you still have like Beyond Trauma and like the, yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
We actually pulled back from Beyond Trauma because our behavioral health unit has introduced three program series of around trauma care and specifically around that, and found that probably more valuable because it's less, it's more clinical in nature.
Who developed it?
I'm sorry, what?
Who developed it?
Name, do you know?
Oh, it's Women Healing from Trauma, and I am not sure who developed it.
Could you send us information on it? Could we get that in the notes?
I will find that for you, yes.
So you're no longer using Beyond Trauma?
We haven't offered Beyond Trauma since pre-COVID because Women Healing from Trauma has essentially replaced that.
Okay, so we'll look at that one. And Angela, final question for Jeff.
Right, thanks, Jeff. I was just wondering, at Shakopee, is there a running tally, like is it tabulated quarterly or twice a year, yearly, about how many requests for services, for victim services are obtained at the facility? Do we know how many have, and then if it has been decided that there is a violation here, how many of those have occurred? Do we know?
Okay, so two questions. So, one, we wouldn't be keeping the tally of victim services connections. That would be the victim services unit who would do that. So Shakopee, we wouldn't keep that information at Shakopee. And then can you repeat the second question? And because I didn't quite follow that.
So if say, a person experiencing incarceration was victimized by someone who has committed a PREA violation, and that was found to be true, how many have occurred, like, in the last year? Or do we keep?
Yeah, we do, but again, that's not something that the facility manages that information. We have a PREA coordinator who's department-wide PREA manager who would have all that information and keep all of that level of information.
So it's the DOC PREA coordinator, is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Which I think is
Do we-
Liz Richards now, right?
She
So-
oversees it.
Yeah, so I think like Liz, I think if we want, we could invite Liz to a future meeting. She can talk about, I don't know what the privacy and confident, right? I don't know if she can get us numbers, but she can probably give us themes. I know they've seen an increase, and whenever you see an increase in our world, right, that it's like, is there an increase in experiences, or is there an increase in we're doing better outreach and folks feel right that they can, but she could talk about all that and give us some more
So
information.
Shelby, just to put a pin in this, Shelby, would you add to the agenda for future meetings, the PRIA coordinator, is that what it's called? And then potentially, and we're not scheduling these, but just to keep our ideas kind of together. And then also maybe it would be helpful to meet with somebody from the victim services unit.
I think Liz has, she does her coordinator job now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But they have to also come and be knowledgeable, because you brought this up like in March, I think, which was really good. We don't understand how PRIA is being used in the juvenile world either. And there's a lot of questions, and that came up with the new guy who runs the licensing unit. So
I think that would be good for all future presenters, for us to have some questions before they come, and that would probably feel good to them too, so that they know
That'd be
like
good.
what exactly we want to hear about.
Okay.
So, okay.
I have a quick question for Jeff. The
Thank
same
you.
one I asked for, I know we're not necessarily talking about grievances in the facility. First of all, I look at this and I think this is so much more user friendly, or, visually aesthetic, easier to read. And I wish we would do this for the juveniles, which we will talk about at another time. So do you have all the grievances electronically, and does the facility use them for data analysis?
Yes.
Themes, you do? Okay. And why can't we do that in the juvenile world? That's a question. We'll talk about that for the,
probably
but that's interesting that you do.
Probably because it's a number of systems that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So it's in corrections, we're dealing with one system, or in Department of Corrections, we're dealing with one system.
Right.
that, and it's a uniform process throughout all of our facilities. So it's a whole lot easier to do it in Department of Corrections versus.
Right. I wonder if they do that at Red Wing, though, do an analysis. I think any facility that's licensed by DOC, whether it's their quote unquote facility or not, should be doing data analysis on things that so critical as grievance. So that was my question.
Okay, so.
Thanks, Jeff. This is.
Yeah,
good.
thank you. All this information was really helpful. Okay, what I would like to do again is jump very quickly, because I'm hoping this is some low hanging fruit. Logo approval.
Just jinxed us.
Any logo? We've got this logo. I think that you guys, I know in the room here you have it. I don't know for those of you who are attending
I'm pulling
virtually.
it up right now.
All right, sweet. Any further discussion on the logo? Okay, does anyone want to make a motion to approve the logo? Vicky, I think raised your hand, right?
I'm
Vicky?
not sure I can make a motion since I'm a chair, so probably needs to come from, if we're going to use Robert's rules, probably needs to come from someone
Will
else.
somebody, not Vicky, make a motion?
I'll make the motion to
All right,
approve,
great.
to approve the new logo.
Katie has
Second.
made the motion. It's been seconded. Any objections or abstentions? The motion carries. We have a new logo. All right. Thank you for everyone who worked hard to put this together. And
Thanks, Shelby.
yeah. Okay.
And to the women in Shakopee for giving feedback.
Yeah. Thank you to the women in Shakopee. Is there a way to send them a thank you note with the new logo from us? Posted somewhere? Can we post like, hey, thanks.
Since it came from students in the college program, I can actually
Great.
convey that gratitude to them
That would be
through the
great.
messaging system. Okay.
That would be wonderful. Yeah, so just thank them for their input and their efforts and creativity. Okay. All right, so I think now we are I want to circle back up to goals, priorities, major needs. I have this survey in front of me. Vicky, you're on the agenda as the person that may discuss the survey. Either you can share the results or I can.
I think Shelby has them. She can probably
Okay.
Yep,
put
I'll get 'em
put up.
on.
I think it would probably make the most sense to put the compiled results up, and then if people want to see the raw data, they can.
Yeah, she sent me the raw data, so if people want it, I can.
Yeah, but for now, I think it makes more sense to just put up, if you can, Shelby, put up the compiled data. I just tried to, kind of put them into categories, and it really looks like the focus of concerns from task force members are on two kind of related topics, and that is providing secure housing options and gender cultural programming for girls. And then a related issue of, having equal protection around equal protection issues for girls in comparison, I believe, to either boys or in comparison to women. I'm not sure what was intended there, but equal protection for girls. And just really trying to look into the ineffective oversight for girls' facilities. I believe most of those were related to processing about today. So it just, to me, it seems like really just making sure girls are safe in the housing facilities that they occupy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because it looks, as I look through this, secure housing options,
Where do you see
does that mean like secure as in like?
My understanding of it was that it meant like safe, making sure they're safe in the places.
That, yeah.
Safe,
Yeah.
secure.
There's
Well,
different.
Safe housing options.
Yeah.
Because the
I don't think we need
oversight-
to use this wording. This is just my made up wording to try to kind of create categories. So, I mean, I think once we come up with our focus, we can come up with whatever wording we want.
I'm just looking at the one with 4 comments and the one with 3 comments, and it looks
Yeah.
to me, if I'm synthesizing these in my mind, which I'm doing, the secure housing options kind of dovetails well with ineffective oversight for girls' facilities, because without effective oversight, theoretically, there's not going to be a safe housing option. And then equal protection also sort of dovetails with cultural programming. So I really kind of feel like if we take the top one, secure housing options and gender cultural programming for girls, that would kind of encompass the one with 3 as well.
No, I see the equal protection issue as separate.
So the equal protection issue is a legal issue. And I guess if the way that I would have seen it play out in particular to our first presentation is we have a CLIPS program for boys. They each get their own room, they get their own privacy. And then with girls, they're all lumped into one, they're all sharing housing, right?
Yeah.
So that to me is a parity issue. It's a disparity.
It's a parity issue.
It is also theoretically equal protection-ish, but
I think it'd be important.
it's certainly a parity issue.
Yeah, I think we agree 100%.
So maybe I would think perhaps we want to, instead of calling it equal protection, seems part of parity, but not necessarily.
No, having a boys' Red Wing and not having a girls' Red Wing so that they get shipped off to Shakopee, that's a big equal protection.
That is an equal protection issue, but I don't know that that's anything that we can necessarily control, because I don't know that anyone wants to build a female Red Wing, right?
No, and that's not what.
So that's
Yeah.
that's part of the what makes it so tricky. So maybe
I think we have equal, I mean, I think it's tricky also for the CLIPS program, because we don't want them to not have a CLIPS program for girls. I mean, what they have now seems to be working out better than not having it. So
and this is the thing that makes it so frustrating, because it's like, oh, we got like half of what we needed, so maybe we should just be quiet. Yep,
Which we've been doing since the beginning of time.
So,
yeah.
We don't have, I guess right now we don't have to solve any of these problems. We just have to identify what problems we want to work on.
Right. And we don't have to say CLIPS program is, for girls is, we can do, like, generally, this isn't just for CLIPS or anywhere else.
Right.
And really, we have, as being the old woman historian in the group, I will continue to say, we don't want to ask for half a loaf. We've been doing this way too long, and girls deserve to have parity, because there's a statute and and then there's the law. So let's do it. Why keep talking about it for 100 years? Over 100 years now since, never mind.
Okay, so if we're gonna
Yeah.
focus on issues and if we want to kind of be clear about the issues that we're focusing on, it seems that we have a parity issue generally, a safety issue generally, and a cultural and gender specific programming.
Can I add something?
Buckets, yeah.
I agree that the housing should be safe, but like from our perspective, in the juvenile world, there's like a super big bed crisis. Like there's not even unsafe options. Like there's just not, there's not housing for these, for all of our kids, but kind of especially for the girls. And that's always been an issue, right? Is that there's less programs for the girls than there's for boys. So that's part of your parity stuff. But like, there are no places for these kids to go. And that was the number. Like when you guys asked for us to say something for the survey, I pulled the MNJDA group, and that was the number one piece of feedback that they gave was there's no place for these kids. Somebody said earlier something about like kids are staying in the ER for 2 weeks for $2,000 a day. Any kid that does get into our program, we're recognizing we might be, even though they'll say, well, we think they're going to be with you for 2 weeks. Like I have a kid who's been here for like 6 months and he's supposed to be with us for a month, and that's a boy. But like, again, there's more options for boys and he's been sitting with me for 6 months. So what happens with the girls, you know? So I think having them find secure housing is important, but like to me, I guess what I'm saying is I feel like this does not emphasize how bad the crisis is. Is the way we've worded it is, I guess, is what I'm thinking.
I think we can look at wording when we do the top three or whatever we're gonna do. But as long, to your point, Maya, and I hear you, I'm not doing residential treatment anymore, but, and this goes to what Vicky was saying, we cannot allow how messed up the system is to dictate what we advocate for girls. And it's been like that forever. And we do this. And then if there was a time where we have not an overabundance, but we had a lot of really good girls programs, and then the census would dip, and then we'd say, so I think we just decide what we want to focus on based on the law and the statute and what this group wants to do. And we can't, I would rather we didn't do the yes, but there's a crisis, so we can't justify. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you, Paula, on all of that. I guess the one thing I think we need to balance in terms of our approach to the DOC is we need to think about we could advocate for the moon, but also keep in mind that we need to present viable options or else our recommendations are going to go nowhere.
Yep, I hear that.
So-
But in two examples, the viable options we were just talking about got a yes, but.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I'm just going to caution us.
Which,
Yeah.
what
Well, about looking at CLIPS program, boys unit, and CLIPS program, girls program. And then we wanted to say, well, yeah, but we can't mention that or talk about that because it could, I just think we have to be really careful.
Yeah.
I'm all for reasonable, and I understand that. I just don't want to, but we gotta, everything's so messed up, we just can't possibly do a recommendation on that.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that we not mention it. I was suggesting that we keep in mind that
Yeah.
we don't want to frame it in a way that we're saying what you have, you know what I mean, isn't fair. So, because at least there's something. But yeah, I definitely think we should note the differences and, recommend changes.
Okay, Linda?
Yes, thank you. So on the parity issues, and especially going back to the CLIPS program of the boys having their own room, the girls are in dorm style. Have we ever actually talked to the girls to find out, do they prefer a dorm style, or would they prefer, not that we have individual rooms, but if this is something that the majority of girls and young women would prefer, because I might generalize and say relationships are more important.
Mhm.
The do we want to go down a road of even suggesting a change if that's not necessarily what they want?
Well, here's, I guess I have two follow-up points to that. One, it seemed that the psychologist was the one that flagged it as an issue.
Okay.
So that would suggest to me that even if that it is not in the best practices for their own treatment, and they're erecting their own makeshift barriers, which would also suggest that this is not something that they would like. And knowing teenage girls, they like privacy, I think.
Any of us.
Anecdotal, but the other issue is, okay, if we just take a poll of who's in there right now, that's a snapshot in time of like who's in there right now. It's not necessarily going to be representative of what people want 5 years from now, or what they, what even a different group of girls who aren't getting along well with each other would want a week from now. So I think and part of parity in my mind is looking at what options are available and are they equitable with one another?
Yeah, and I think the next time we have a discussion around this, I think we could get to all those details, like, what kinds of information do we need to gather? Do we need to gather information from the psychologists, the girls, whatever? But I think that's something, given that we have 4 minutes left, we should probably focus on kind of the details.
What I would like to do, if it's okay with all of you, is, since we, in the interest of time, think about, okay, we don't have anything, Shelby, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have a presentation coming in for August, do we?
No, we do not.
Okay. I think that what we should do is not schedule anything on the agenda and then make this, like, figuring out what our focus is should be our agenda for August. And we should just devote the entire meeting kind of hashing some of this stuff out.
Yeah, Corey, didn't you already ask Shelby to put something on? I mean, I think there are some things on the agenda already, but I feel like earlier in the meeting you said, can you put that on the agenda for August?
We have something on the agenda that's just sort of for future meetings, generally, like topics for future meetings, but not scheduled. And I was asking her to put those things on for like generally. So
Sure.
I'm running our own conference for my staff on the 13th. So I won't be here for that meeting, but Vicky, will you be present for the August meeting?
Yeah, I will be. But I do think I think we do need to at least put 10 minutes in about the conference, because we're already past the point where we're going to be able to do it for fall. So I think we're probably going to be looking at spring anyway, but I think we do need to at least, establish a committee for that.
Yeah. So we could spend 15 minutes establishing a conference committee that can work offline, and then devote the rest of the time to kind of figuring out actions.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. And I think I will be able to join. I'll be able to listen. I'll be driving up to our conference location, but I'll be able to listen and participate. I just won't be able to run it. So I think you'll be here to run it.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, no, we're out of time. I want to just go back to when we started this whole parity thing many, many years ago. I came in after the law was passed, parity, this is what people thought. Parity was taking out the urinals and painting the walls pink. That was female responsive programming. And so I'm just telling you, we're still living with that today. We've lost a lot of ground, and I'm not picking on clips. But as I listened to that, I thought, oh my God, I have listened to this all these years, people who do not understand what female and culturally responsive, and I'm quite sure I'm worried about their trauma-informed stuff too. But we have to get back to understanding for ourselves that girls are different than boys. And what does that mean psychologically, safety-wise, just environmentally? And then look at gender identity, all of those kind of things. That's what worries me about the clips, but they're not alone.
Yeah.
There's not a program in the state that I think understands gender equality.
Yeah. I think, Paula, though, we have to be
We
aware that he was not, like, he didn't know we were going to ask that question. He might have had a better answer.
That should be at the forefront of anyone's mind
Yeah.
who's running a
Yeah.
girls'
He's the
program.
program
But,
coordinator.
okay, Maya?
Oh, I just said I had the exact same concern that Paul had. I was listening like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but but to a broader issue, I feel like I keep hearing trauma-informed care, cultural specific programming, and it's thrown around with buzzwords. What I cannot seem to wrap my head around is, okay, what does it actually look like? What is included? Tell us, like, where's the model? Who is doing it well?
I'm happy.
What, like, programs are out there, like nonprofits? Because it's very easy, I think, to be like, well, that's not this, but we need to understand, okay, well, what is that? So we have a goal to work towards.
Sure.
I think.
When we
And
had
I
the
don't-
planning, I know we're out of time. When we had the planning for female offender unit, we did all that training. I would be happy to collaborate with other people to do a training on what does that look like on the inside. So maybe
And
Jeff,
if we
there's
had
somebody there.
curriculum.
Well,
Yeah,
we
if we
should
had
get culturally
curriculum that-
specific orgs to
Yeah,
talk to us
yes.
about.
Inside, and Angel could do it too. Angel, I don't know if she's here. Angel could be a part of that
I'm
training
here.
because she works programs.
Yes, I wasn't too convinced on some of the training and things like that, especially being so far away where you don't get a lot of cultural out there. I'm pretty concerned about that.
Yeah, so my thinking is, I mean, maybe for next week, for next meeting, if all of us could sort of start to think about researching, not like, okay, what would the best practices look like? Where do we want to go? Is anyone looking at this and doing it right? And then we could all come with that information to share with one another and have a conversation about it. And we could even at some point, invite to future meetings, people who do these kinds of trainings and have curriculums to help educate us on what we should be recommending. That makes sense.
So in August, we're talking about culturally specific programming, or we're identifying our focus areas.
Well, it seems like the culturally specific programming is one of the I have like 3 things really: that safety and housing, gender and cultural specific programming, and parity. I feel, and maybe you guys will prioritize these, but it feels like the revolving perennial issue for all of us that is at its core is the gender and cultural specific programming, which frankly is about parity as well. So like, I don't know that you can't have parity without that. That is part of parity, not the only part. Feels like parity is the overarching umbrella. Within that, we've got safety and gender and culturally specific programming. But I mean, this is something that we can talk about next time, but if people have ideas, I think that would be productive.
I have ideas for a plan, but
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't think that we should go into August having all done our own research on culturally specific programming yet. I would set that as like.
I feel like we should all start to be thinking about it or have
Sure,
have
we're all
some
already
ideas about it.
thinking
Yeah. I mean, I've not Googled it to see like what, who's doing it well, anything like that. I mean, it's like, I feel like it's the sniff test. You kind of know when you see it, but you don't. I haven't seen it structurally articulated, and that would be helpful to research, I think.
We can touch on this
Send you
more
some
in August too, but one thing that I do think we should put on this group's radar is the July 1 change of the all children and youth in placement must be screened for all forms of human trafficking, including labor and sex trafficking. But one thing that's really unique about that law change is that that's for human services placements, not just probation. So me and my supervisor have already had conversations about how we're gonna start implementing it, even though it's not required for probation, for correctional base, but it's something we should be having conversations with for detention centers when kids are
For
coming in.
licensing too.
Yeah, so just wanted to throw that out there. I think that we need to talk. about
That's
that.
really important.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. It looks like
There's so many important things.
I know.
No, that's the